From RMG Productions and Soul Pepper Studios, this is Plus Angel Cry with the Wordmaster. Announce the studio and your host, the Wordmaster.
Good evening and welcome to Fourth Angel's Cry. This week we are focusing on Revelation 18 and the 23rd verse. This evening's topic, which is episode 9, is $1 billion deception. And we'll be focusing on what the Bible says there at the latter part of the scripture where it says, "For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." That's Revelation 18 and verse 23. So, hopefully by the end of the program tonight, you'll be made aware not so much of the physical implications and application, but so much more of the spiritual ramifications. So it says, this is a quote from Chris Rock. Chris Rock has recently called out the government as a drug dealer, and this was from 2015, and mocks Big Pharma. The accusation being Big Pharma simply makes too much money off the long-term prescription medications that treat symptoms to have any desire to find a cure. In other words, he's saying that just like any good drug dealer, well, as he puts it, ain't no money in the cure. The money is in the medicine. That's how a drug dealer makes his money on the comeback. You have to have repeat customers to stay in business. Any good business person knows this. So if you talk about, say for instance, curing cancer, and we're going to read a quote on that later on, you'll see that it's always about research. We're still in the research phase. And all these big things that they said that they would have found a vaccine for or treatments or whatever, of late, you see them coming back and with a vengeance at that. In fact, you have drug-resistant strains because society has been so drugged up that it can't be helped. Obviously, there's going to be a resistance, and then you're going to want to develop medications for that and repeat the cycle. What a vicious cycle indeed, right? So, the Strong's definition of the word that we find there in Revelation 18:23 for sorcery is pharmakia, and it's either the use of or the administration of drugs. 2, poison, and 3, sorcery, magical arts often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. 4, metaph, the deceptions and seductions of idolatry. So pharmakia is described in Strong's Concordance. It's medication, in other words, magic, figuratively, sorcery, witchcraft. So in Revelation 18:23, you could insert any of those in the definition of pharmakia in the context of what will be happening in the last days. I want to encourage you to go back and read our scripture reading, Revelation 18:1-4. We really don't have time to go into it right now, but you'll see that it's a clarion call for people to come out of Babylon before it's too late. And I trust and pray that as you listen tonight, that if you are in the system known as Babylon, that it would be your desire to come out. So, by the way, there is in the description area a lot of resources that will help you in the understanding of this program. So, we're going to officially get started right after this from our sponsor.
The following program is being sponsored by RMG Production. For more information, please see the link in the description.
Speaking of description area, this is one of the articles that's linked there. It says, it's talking about pharmakia in the Bible. It says, the modern use of the word sorcery evokes images of supernatural power and spells. Biblical use of pharmakia doesn't fit well with such ideas. Rather, the term suggests various forms of drug abuse. Those might include drug use in pagan worship as an addiction or as poison use to manipulate and control others. Very fitting in line with what Revelation is saying. Because again, the context there in the 23rd verse, we've covered many of those prior verses before. It's the realization that Babylon is now fallen, and all the systems that compose the Babylon, whether it's the commercial, economic, whether it's education, whether it's military, whatever it may be, persons, too late as it were, have finally realized that Babylon is a system that's fallen and it's going out of existence. But thanks be to God, there will be a people who are actually ready and are coming out of Babylon before it is too late. In modern English, separate terms distinguish medicines, chemicals, and illicit drugs. As used in most contexts, a pharmacist and a drug dealer both distribute chemicals, but of different kinds and for drastically different reasons. Notice this. Because English vernacular uses entirely different words, phrases like selling drugs evoke something illicit, while taking meds or prescription drugs don't imply anything nefarious. Both of them are still pharmacists. The one that's working 9 to 5 and the drug dealer, they're dispensing drugs, and those drugs save, for some minor ones, serve the same purpose. They are intended to trick your mind into thinking something when it's different. Now, all of them are put on that principle. These ones, the psychotropic drugs, and the ones that the drug dealers sell, the mind-altering drugs that give you a high or low, depending on what you want to feel, both serve the same purpose. And there's no cure in either. As we heard from Chris Rock, you have to keep on coming back. Ancient Greeks used words like pharmakia to refer to the entire spectrum. In other words, legal, illegal drugs. It didn't matter. So that's why we have those terms that's found there you can find it in Galatia and other parts of Revelation besides where we are today. This makes cultural and biblical context crucial when interpreting terms related to pharmakia. So basically, in other words, what we have here in Revelation 18:23 most definitely is one of those things that a person might look at and say, wait a minute, how is this context being used? How is this term being used? But in reality, just based on the fact that it says that they realize that the veil has been ripped away, they realize that the facade is gone, you know that it's being used in a nefarious purpose. It's not, quote unquote, even in the slightest, saying that was something to be used to heal, to help. It was all to deceive the nations. And it goes in line with Revelation 13, where it says by the use of miracles and different things, they'll be deceiving the nations to get ready to receive the mark of the beast. Ancient societies were no stranger to mind-altering chemicals, so just that it's not some modern-day phenomena. Archaeologists note the presence of opium, hemp, and many other substances in the Bible-era cultures. These compounds were not as potent as modern options, but still capable of powerful effects. For example, synthetic drugs like Carfentanil are 100,000 times as powerful as an equivalent dose of natural opium. This is what allows a small dart to tranquilize an elephant. So, that's what it is. But opium itself is still a strong drug. So the reason why we're talking about this so early on is because I want to show you that the pharmaceutical industry is being used by the beat system, just as militaries, just like Hollywood, just like the entertainment, just like the judiciary, just like governments and churches again, from early on, we talked about that giant tentacle that has its reach in everything, and this is no exception. Mood-altering substances were also used in connection to ancient religious practices, and so we know that Babylon styles itself as a religious system, and so here's where the application hits home. Temples, such as those in Greece, sometimes use mind-altering drugs in fortune-telling and oracles. These may have included natural vapors and deliberately concocted mixtures. When Paul wrote Galatians and John recorded Revelation, these practices would have been part of pagan idolatry. So they know what they were talking about. They could actually see the references in their day and what these mind-altering drugs did to persons. Substances that alter a person's perceptions can be used in a predatory manner, influencing others and taking advantage of the skewed awareness. The biblical concept of sorcery seems to lean toward the latter end of the spectrum. A biblical sorcerer could be thought of as the equivalent of a modern drug dealer, or as the type of person who slips chemicals into a woman's drink to take advantage of her. In other words, something like you could picture in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 6, where it says, of this sort are persons who sneak into houses and lead captive silly women. Again, talking about church. And my friends, understand that just because we are using these natural ideas and these natural thoughts so freely this evening, know that behind it is a spiritual application. Know for sure that these persons would have studied, these persons would have researched, and I'm talking about from ancient times, what these certain substances and chemicals would do to those who receive it. And so, say you wanted to start a cult, one of the best ways to have your people all in one accord is to have them all partake of the same drug. What was then, it is now. And by the time we get to the end of the program tonight, hopefully you'll see a little bit clearer. So how much exactly is the pharmaceutical industry worth? So, as you're aware, the title and the topic of this podcast is $1 billion deception exposed. And in actuality, it's actually a $1 trillion industry, but I didn't think that $1 trillion rolled off the tongue like $1 billion deception would have. As of 2022, the global pharmaceutical industry is estimated to be worth over 1.7 trillion, that's trillion with a T, US dollars. The industry includes companies involved in the research, development, manufacture, and distribution of prescription and over-the-counter drugs, as well as biologics and medical devices. So according to another article that I pulled up, it says it is difficult to determine an exact number of diseases that have been cured because it depends on various factors, such as the definition of a cure. So the question was asked was how many diseases have been cured? And you see early on, there's a hem and haw, because in reality, these drugs and these drug companies, they don't want cures. They want repeat customers. Again, you'll go out of business if all of a sudden, well, we're going to mention some of the names right now of these companies, but if they were to produce a drug or some type of treatment that would turn out to be a cure, and they wouldn't have that level of business anymore, and what would be their purpose? They'll be gone. But it did say something very interesting right towards the latter part of the article. It says, however, medical advancements have led to the successful treatment and eradication of many diseases, such as smallpox, polio, and some forms of cancer. And like I said, these are coming back, and we have seen, like, certain things that they said, like, we're going out, we see them coming back with a vengeance. Again, like I said, many of them resistant to any type of drugs. Ongoing research and development, I highlighted that. Ongoing research and development in the medical field continues to bring hope for the cure of other diseases. Can I just say that's patently a lie? Because they're not. In truth and in fact, what they are hoping to do is to keep a person so sick that they'll continue to come to them for the cure. Again, drug dealer mentality, no difference. And when the Bible talks about this form of cure, it is talking about the same sorcery, witchcraft, manipulative tactics that would cause persons to not to want to consult any reason as to why should I take this, because they feel the need of it. And so they're deceived by it. That's why the Bible says, my friends, what know you not that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit which you have of God, and you are not your own. So that's why it's most important that we don't put anything into our bodies that would affect our mind, so that we're not able to consult the reasoning centers of our brain and be duped into doing something that is of eternal consequences. So, as I was saying, here's a list of some of these manufacturers of drugs, and you might know them well. Pfizer, Novartis, Roche, Sanofi, Merck & Company, GlaxoSmithKline, Johnson & Johnson, AbbVie, AstraZeneca, Bristol Myers Squibb, just to name a few. So, you know some of them, I'm sure. Listen to this. In the U.S., pharmaceutical companies can advertise prescription drugs directly to consumers. They run TV commercials and take out glossy full-page ads in magazines. But this is not the norm. In fact, the U.S. is one of only 2 countries in the world that allows direct-to-consumer prescription drug ads. So, in other words, America alone is responsible for more than half of that $1.7 trillion drug industry. And when you consider that, it starts to make sense. Again, taking you back to your description area, there is a video that I would love for you to watch, and I would love for you to make it go viral. It's entitled The Marketing of Madness. Don't know how long it's going to stay on YouTube. In fact, it was a chore for me to find it. It's shadow banned, and so I had to do some really, really deep research into finding it. But I found it, and it's there in the description, and I trust that you'll go back and look at it, because this half-hour program won't be able to do justice to what I want to show you about the manipulation because of psychotropic drugs. Go back and look at it when you have time. No wonder so many Americans are on medication, even if they don't want to be. What do I mean by that? Because the advertisements are so manipulative that they'll convince you that you have some sort of disease, infection, problem that you need to have a drug for. And in reality, you don't. But these companies, that's how they make their money. That's how they make their billions. And so in order for you to be a good customer, you must be made to believe that you have this disease. And they have tons of names for them. In that video, you'll see the latest DSM book that has all these diseases. I mean, tons and tons of made-up nonsense, but people still buy into that. And so, as we start to wind down, my friends, Jesus, when he was on the cross, did not take mind-altering drugs, and neither should we. Notice what it says in Matthew 27:34. They gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall, and when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. He would not drink. You know, my friends, some of these companies and these governments have gotten wise to the agenda. Like I said, the beast system, again, you guys who have been following, if this is your first time, first of all, welcome aboard. Thank you for listening. But the regulars know that we're talking about, and we're exposing the mark of the beast system, and the system itself is the Roman papacy, Catholicism. Again, we're not attacking individuals. We're just focused on the system according to what our understanding of Bible prophecy says that it would be. And we see it manifested in these last days. So we understand that the concept that we are talking about is something that Christ, when he was on the cross, knew oh so well the importance of. No matter what you're going through, no matter what your situation is, you need to retain the use of your faculties, or you might be forced to do something, like I said, that would be of lasting and eternal consequences. So you see, my friends, The goal is to have the population pacified so it would be easier to take the mark of the beast without consulting their morals. And that's what Christ said he had to do. He did not want any mind-altering drugs. And again, he knew, because as we just showed, and that's one of the reasons why we went through all of this exercise in the reading of the pharmaceuticals in the Bible. He did it because he wanted, in this most important time, to have a clear mind. But a people are waking up to all the tricks, sorceries, and signs and wonders, all the deceptions that's out there in the world, because God is sending out a message. And like I said, this podcast ministry, the fourth angel cry, was raised up to warn a people against receiving the mark of the beast. And clearly, one of the ways that we can avoid having our morals compromised is by getting off of these drugs. Now, I should make something clear that I did not make clear earlier. Probably should have used the time before to make a disclaimer, but I just want to get on into the program. See, I understand full well that certain persons need certain drugs for certain reasons, and I'm not knocking them, mocking them, or disparaging them. I'm just giving the general overview of the situation. And if you are in such a situation that you are in need of the drug, not in need of taking drugs, but in need of the drug for treatment of something, then let me tell you how important it is to make prayer your priority rather than the drug, because you could become chemically dependent and have a whole another series of problems you never intended to have. It's only a matter of time before the masses in Babylon hear the fourth angel's cry and come out. If you're listening now, my friends, and you constitute one of these Babylonian churches, and by that I mean churches that worship on Sunday, churches that are supposed to be Protestant in nature even, who say that we're separated from Rome, but in reality we see the tentacles of Rome inside there as well. And certain other churches are not excluded. You know who I'm talking about, because Rome has its tentacles everywhere on the planet at this time. But you know what, my friends? Let me tell you, as we wind down, that God's people those in Babylon will hear his voice, and before it's too late, they will come out and join themselves to the people of God. I trust and pray that as you realize going forward that drugs are going to be one of the main reasons why the masses receive the mark of the beast, that if you really don't need yours, you'll toss them. The pharmaceutical industry will go on. Like I said, it's a billion-dollar behemoth, so it doesn't need you. And you should tell it by your actions that you don't need it. All that you need is Christ Jesus. Because you see, my friends, we are going to need the clarity of mind to tell this glorious gospel message, this final message of mercy that will lighten the whole world with the glory of God with clear minds.
We've a story to tell to the nations that shall turn their hearts to the right. A story of truth and sweetness, a story of peace and light, a story of peace and light. For the darkness shall turn to dawning, and the dawning to noonday bright, and Christ's great kingdom shall come on earth, the kingdom of love and light. We've a song to be sung to the nations that shall lift their hearts to the Lord, a song that shall conquer evil and shatter the spear and sword, and shatter the spear and sword. For the darkness shall turn to dawning, and the dawning to noonday bright, and Christ's great kingdom shall come a message to give to the nations, that the Lord who reigneth above hath sent us His Son to save us and show us that God is love, and show us that God is love. For the darkness shall turn to dawning, and the dawning to noonday bright, and Christ's great kingdom shall come on earth, the kingdom of love and light. We will stay here to show to the nations who the path of sorrow has trod, that all of the world's great people might come to the truth of God, might come to the truth of God. For the darkness shall turn to dawning, and the dawning to noonday bright, and Christ's great kingdom shall come on earth, the kingdom of love and light.
As I've been saying all along, go to the description area. There's a video there that I need you to see. It's a couple hours long, but it's well worth your time. And if you like it, share it. If you like what you heard today on our podcast, I invite you to be a supporter. Information also is in the description. You can support our program sponsor, or you can donate to help us to be able to share the contents of this podcast with others all over the world. Just the other day, just to let you in on some of the things, we were able to reach countries as diverse as Russia, Kyrgyzstan, all the way down to the southern hemisphere in Brazil, and there's other places that, it's a ton of places. For those of you who are my RMG insiders, I will be sharing some of this with you, as well as a peek behind the scene in our next post, in which will be coming up real soon. So look for that on our platform at Buy Me a Coffee. And if you're not a supporter, if you're not an insider, all you have to do is join at any membership level, and you'll be able to be part of that group. And they start at $2, by the way. And I don't think $2 for 12 months is too much to be able to share these beautiful messages all around the world. And it's because of you, my dear sponsors, my dear friends, with your finances and with your prayers, where we're able to do what we do. So once again, thank you very much. God bless you. Until next time. So we'll pick up again next Tuesday, by God's grace, with episode 10. See you.
You have been listening to Fourth Angel Cry, hosted by the Word Master. For more information, please see our website at theantidotetodeception.com. Please join us next time.